So then, Janice, welcome to the One Chi project. We're going to just run through a few questions, some very sort of simple questions about Qigong. And so the first question is the most obvious of them, really. Introduce yourself to us. Tell us, how did you find out about Qigong, or maybe how did Qigong find you?
Well, thanks so much for interviewing me today, Jeremy. And I first came across Qigong when I was studying traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture here in Ireland, where I live. I was at college in Dublin, and my director of my college had organised for a group of us to go on a trip to China to study at the University of Traditional Chinese Medicine over in Guangzhou. And that was to take place immediately after I graduated from my course. So 12 of us, both students and members of staff, the teaching staff there, went to China to learn for 4 weeks, to learn medical Qigong under the lovely, lovely two professors who were teaching us, who were in the department of Qigong there at the university. And then I went over there on 3 other subsequent occasions for a month each time to study with them, and they were just so wonderful and giving of their teaching, and I just learned so much. It was just super interesting, really, really good, and really fitted in very well with the Chinese medicine and acupuncture that I'd just been studying. So I was kind of a new student. I was kind of really keen to learn everything there was to know about Chinese medicine, and Qigong was just a really great opportunity to, expand upon that learning and that knowledge even further.
So I guess the next question that comes along is, knowing all this about Qigong, what do you love about Qigong the most?
What I love about Qigong the most is that anybody can do it. I think that's what I love about it. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, what your range of movement is or not. It can be so easily adapted to anybody's lifestyle, anybody's daily routine. It can fit really well into your lifestyle, your day-to-day routine. You don't need to put special time aside for it. You can do it if you're a wheelchair user. You can do it if you're a 5-year-old child. It doesn't matter. There's always some element of Qigong or some method that comes from Qigong that you can use to benefit yourself, no matter what your circumstances. And I think that's why I love it so much, is that it's so flexible.
So do you find, though, then in your own personal practice, that you particularly adhere to one kind of lineage form, or is your practice wider? What's your sort of style, I suppose?
But to be honest, Jeremy, I don't know much about Qigong styles. I've been teaching Qigong for 20 years, and the Qigong that I learned is medical Qigong that came from my professors in they were teaching in a university as part of a Chinese medicine degree. So it was very much, I suppose, medical Qigong is the style that I teach, but then I also think, much of Qigong is medically orientated, unless it's used specifically for martial arts skills. It's very much about improving your health. So I don't follow a particular style at all. I would really be more interested in how Qigong can benefit anybody's mental, physical, and emotional health, and that's it really. If it helps in those areas for somebody, then it's doing its job.
Yeah, it's the beautiful sort of practicality of it, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Um, okay, so our next question is sort of a bit of a deeper one. What have you kind of personally gained from Qigong?
um, I suppose personally, I used to be very much and I still am to a certain extent, so I have to be very aware of it. I used to be a perfectionist, and by being a perfectionist, for those people out there who have that kind of tendency as well, we know that by wanting everything to be a certain way and wanting everything to be perfect, it puts enormous pressure upon ourselves. We set ourselves very high standards, and that can be a really good thing. But also, if it goes too far, it can be a not so healthy thing, because it's exhausting. And so for me, what I learned through practicing Qigong is that with any of the Qigong methods, as with anything in life, it doesn't have to be perfect. it does, if you can relax into it and just go with the flow, then you reap the benefits from it. And to be honest, a lot of the time, it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Doesn't it's all, you know, that idea of being perfect is all, it's within ourselves. It's the pressure we put on ourselves. Other people are not even putting that pressure on us. Other people don't see if it's not perfect. So I think with Qigong and through practicing Qigong, I've learned that, you know, it doesn't matter if I don't practice a particular Qigong exercise in the perfect textbook way, as long as I feel the benefits from it. And that's then been able to, you know, I've used it and transferred that idea into my personal life, into my life in general as well. So I'm a bit more laid back, and the perfectionist trait, I think, and that's personally how I would have kind of gained from it. I'm much more relaxed now than I used to be.
And do you think that carries through to your students? What do your students benefit? How do they benefit from the work?
My students often say that I come across as being really calm, although I don't think I am on the inside. My mind is going 10 to the dozen, trying to, you know, when I'm teaching, you know, obviously I'm watching them, I'm paying attention to what they're doing, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be teaching next. So I would say the calm is on the surface and not underneath, but my students, I think they gain confidence from the calmness that I at least portray, and certainly from the intention that I would give to them, the intention and the attention. So my intention is that they really benefit and gain something from anything that I'm, you know, any Qigong that I'm teaching on that particular day. And they get that through, I guess, through the fact that I really want them to be well. I want them to feel better, and I genuinely would feel that. And they pick up that feeling from me, and they would say that to me as well. And that for me is probably the most rewarding aspect of my teaching.
Very good. Well, the other question we're asking everybody is that, given a couple of minutes, would you like to show us something that you think is a kind of fundamental practice, you know, something that might really benefit people, something that's, you know, one of your perfect little nuggets that you give to people, as it were?
Yeah, I've got something really good for you, actually. So so you can do this just sitting as you are, just as you're sitting down. And what this little, it's more of a little tip rather than an exercise per se.
Uh-huh.
And I first noticed this when I was in China, and my Qigong professors were husband and wife team. So he was teaching and lecturing at the front, and she would often be sitting at the back of the class listening to what was happening, because she was responsible for teaching the more kind of practical aspects of the Qigong course in the afternoons. And he was teaching the theory in the mornings. So she'd be sitting taking it all in, but I could see she was doing this thing with her hands, and she was just sitting with her fingers, and she was sitting with her hands by her sides on the chair, and she was just flicking her fingers like this. Okay, just every now and again she'd just do these little flicks, and you couldn't, like, she was sitting behind us, so most of the time you wouldn't even notice what she was doing. But I asked her what it was, and what she was doing, and this is a great tip for any of you out there who feel like there's something that maybe comes into you that you don't want, so or something that's in there already. So it could be an emotion maybe that you would like to healthily process and allow to pass through you. So it could be a little bit of irritation or a little bit of sadness or anxiety. It could also be something more physical, like say you were walking down the street and you walked past, or a truck passed you that was churning out lots of horrible fumes, and you didn't want to inhale them, you didn't want your body to absorb that kind of anything kind of maybe a little bit toxic from your environment. It could work for that as well. Or it's also very good to help with physical feelings of maybe tiredness or exhaustion, and would help to give you a little pep and give you a bit more energy. So the flicking of the hands is just kind of allowing for anything to either leave your body and your mind, or it's to maybe get rid of something that's just come in, like in the example of the toxic fumes. And what you want to do is just, obviously I can't show you here, I'm not sitting in the right position, but you usually have your hands down by your sides because you've got the effect of gravity as well to help things along. So you'll be flicking the hands, and at the same time, you just focus very gently, very lightly on what it is that you want to get rid of, or if it's just come in, just send it back out again. And at the same time you do the flick, do a kind of slightly more forceful exhalation, but through your nose. So if I show you, and you'll probably hear it audibly. So you're breathing in and out through your nose, your mouth is closed, and you just flick your fingers, breathing out through your nose at the same time. So I'll just do 3 and I'll show you. So it just goes like this. Just like that. And you can do that anytime, anywhere. And this really fits in to what I would like to emphasize about Qigong, is that you can integrate it into your day. You can do that when you're out walking. You can do it standing in a queue somewhere. You can do it when you're in bed at night. You can do it watching TV. Anytime where you really just want to really dispel something, or act to, to allow things to just leave your body and leave you a bit kind of cleaner on the inside. It works really well.
Wow, I love that, Janice. Yeah, I really feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
But you
was
need the breath and the movement together. You need
yeah,
the 2
definitely.
things, and then the attention of the mind as well. Because as if you don't know, for those of you who don't know, Qigong is the combination of using movement, breath, and mind. Those 3 elements are the way in which you get the most benefit from your Qigong practice.
Wow. Oh, Janice, thank you very much for talking to us.
My pleasure.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.